Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for spending your time with us here. This is VCTV, and you are now with us in Le Token. My name is Terrence, and I'll be moderating the show today. Today, on our panel, we have no other than Gary Fowler. Now, you've seen him on the show. Now, today he's going to talk about Contech, Proptech, rental properties, real estate, really the whole environment on its whole. So before we kind of start in there, I think it's only fair if he starts with a little bit of that introduction again. It's always fun to hear that one. So go ahead, Gary, off to you.
It's great to be here, Terrence. My name's Gary Fowler, and actually, my first company that I did many years ago now was a construction tech company. So I was 21 years old and out of graduate school, and so it's near and dear to the heart. So my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done two unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold for $1.35 billion to Salesforce about 16, almost 17 months ago. And that company came from Haifa, Israel, over to the US. And I'm also the co-founder of Viva, which is now one of the top AI HR tech companies worldwide. Founded it with a billionaire from Russia, Dr. David Yang. I love artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the new electricity. Data is the fuel, and 5G is really the turbocharger for it, or 6G now. So there's an incredible opportunity there. We're going through massive digital transformation as a society, and it's great to be here. And La Token and a lot of the groups that are out there that have focused on online and transferring knowledge they're critically important, because no matter where the startup is, no matter where the investor is, knowledge is power. And today it's a great thing to be able to have these phenomenal connections. So it's good to be here, Terrence. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Gary. And thank you for spending that time with us. I know it's valuable, and I'm sure the viewers appreciate it as well. Okay, let's just dive straight in. From what I read, from what I understand, I mean, lots of companies are trying to get into this ecosystem. Let's talk about it a bit and give it that introduction that it needs. From what I read, it's typically about that digital transformation of the property industry as a whole. Now, how much are we going, or how much are we talking about that transformation, or what are you seeing, or how would you define it, Gary? The industry itself.
Yeah, so first let's look at where we are today. You have clients out there, potential customers, and they have rapidly changing expectations, right? They're looking for more innovative and tailored products for whether it's a commercial building or home or that kind of thing. And the demands are dramatically increasing. So we've got to look at how to do things like modularized design. And I can talk about that a bit. I actually started my company. I built 27 houses and designed them myself. Houses up to 800 square meters, 8,000 square feet. And so we actually built the houses in a factory, Terrence. So we'd actually take modules, 14 by 70. I would build them in a factory. It'd take me less than a week to have them built in the factory. I would have modules up to 6 modules. So if you take, in feet, 14, 14, 14, 42 feet, and then 70 feet long. And then I would build the, 3-car garage and maid's quarters and all that stuff. But the beauty of it is you're using a factory setting, and you're not, you don't have the challenges with the weather, right? Because weather can change instantly. And as you know, a lot of the problems on a construction site is because you're building with wood, the wood warps because it's out in the rain, the snow. So I said, well, why don't we build it in the factory? So I could build these modules in a factory in 1 week, and then take a crane and put them up on a foundation. So these kind of things are critically important. Why? Because I can do it the way I want. I can do it very quickly, and I can make sure that the quality's there. Part of the challenge with building a house is it's like Forrest Gump. You never know what you're going to get. Life is like a box of chocolates. So, and with the house, it's kind of the same. So anyhow, and the kind of things people are looking at today, the expectations are for modularized and then optimized on energy, right? With improved health and security. So it used to be that you could put a house up, get the water tested, and that would be it. And then when you're ready to sell it, you test it again or test for radon. But people don't want that anymore. I mean, they don't want to. There's a lot of challenges with non-potable water that's not drinkable. Wells
Mm,
get contaminated. Uh, People want to know what's happening. So having those kind of sensors on board to be able to monitor what's happening within the house, also with the air, the quality of air in the house, is the house getting enough circulation, those kind of things. And then
mm,
of course security, parameters. So the right kind of security system for all kinds of ways. Maybe somebody has an elderly parent and they want to have sensors that are somehow connected seamlessly in that house, an elderly parent. So the other thing is, if you look at it, there's a lot of technologies that are cropping up in areas of sensor um, and hardware. It's creeping in, technology is creeping inside the construction industry. And I'll talk to a little bit about that. I
mm.
mean, think about, using transformative technologies like augmented reality, virtual reality, drones, robotics, 3D printing, right? Because now some places are doing 3D printing of panels to be able to erect for a house. Look how much
Right.
faster that would be. Think
Yeah.
about virtual reality. Today, we're in this digital transformation. It's hard as heck to go out and visit a property. And
Mm,
the place in my house right now, I'm in Palm Beach. That house, I never saw the house before I bought it, but I mean, I took a chance. Wouldn't it be really nice to have virtual walkthroughs of the house? And today, with COVID and some of the changes that have taken place because of the pandemic, these kind of technology are critically important. And the one that does it best is going to win the opportunities, because it's we're in a fight now for that customer. Drones, being able to survey land, being able to survey construction to make sure it's up to spec, and then not only looking at it, but using the drones to be able to analyze it, feeding it back, looking at the data, be able to make instant decisions.
mm.
Then if you look, there's a lot of tech trends within, as we're talking about today, within the startup community. So though all that I talked to about above, now the startups need to focus on that. So
Right.
just today, it's estimated right now there are about 1,200 startups in real estate and construction tech that have come
Mm,
up since 2010, and they've received almost $20 billion in funding. So it's a great time. Then you look at emerging tech. Um, the industry, it does not like to change. So if you ever worked with contractors and people in
right.
construction, they don't like to change. They're pretty resistant. So but
Yeah.
today what's happening, you've got a trend where you've got these tech savvy professionals coming in and adopting these digital tools and these
True.
trendy designs. um, and then you're bringing in this younger generation. I mean, traditionally, contractors, construction folks were, apprentice, they went through a whole range before they became master contractors. Right now,
Right.
the situation has changed a lot.
Right.
Then you look at the digital framework, the legal framework. So, what kind of environmental impact is a construction going to have? And the whole uh, foundation about CO2 and energy efficiency regulations. So all that information's out there. The contractors understand, the construction folks, that they need to be able to make sure they're compliant. It's a whole
Right.
lot different than it was when I first got started building the house. I literally took a picture. I took a picture. I took it on a copying machine, copied a picture. Then I drew out the lay of the, where the rooms were going to be. I did it to scale. I took that out and got it approved, right, to build a house. The first one I did, I literally did it like that, and I built it
Right.
in 4 months. But those
Right.
days are gone, right?
Yeah, but that was exactly the point that I was trying to get to as well, the one that you brought up. I mean, by the looks of it, like every segment of real estate has been hammered in one way or another. since the whole introduction of COVID and what's happening around this. So how do we now comply with all that social regulations, environmental regulations, and all the other regulations to make sure that we're all safe now? I think
Well,
it's
I
not
mean,
only an opportunity,
so
right?
the so the one thing, Terrence,
Yeah.
construction has not, if you look at the new housing starts in the US have
Mm,
actually gone up, right?
mm,
So construction, it's been what does they call it? The phenomenon is not that's a what a paradoxical effect.
mm,
So the actual amount of construction, I don't know what the statistics are today, but the
mhm.
amount of construction that's happening has gone up. So it's hard to find people to do work, really,
Okay.
really hard. I just remodeled my kitchens and bathrooms, and it was
Mm,
really hard to find people, and they're pushing you out, 2, 3 months. I don't know if you
mm,
know this, but appliances in the States right now today, they're pushing
mm.
many people are saying you can't get them till March or April because of
Oh,
the
wow.
pandemic and the supply chain challenges.
Right, right. And what's the geographic dispersion of that trend now? Is it just within the US, or are we seeing that on a wider?
Well, I don't know it changes so rapidly.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know what's happening in other parts of the world right now this second. It's changing too quickly.
Hmm.
Hold on. Let me just check. So, um, let's see, pandemic. I'm really curious about it myself because
Yeah.
uh yeah, it's going up. I mean, the situation is going up. Why? I guess some of the challenges, and I'm looking at some of the numbers. This is from October 2020.
Hmm.
So, okay, actually, the global construction market is expected to decline from uh, 11 billion to in 2019 to 10.5 billion in 2020, but it's showing that the 2021 they're expecting it to increase about 12%.
Hmm. Hmm. So,
So
so you think people are holding up till next year when
the
everything
thing
clears,
is,
I
but I
suppose?
don't see it here. It's like, I only can tell you my own personal experience. It sounds like
Hmm.
people are, I think what it is, it's not counting the home construction. It's different when you're talking about, commercial construction. I think
Hmm.
that's held off. And part of it is because, malls are shut down, shopping centers are shut down, but people
Right.
have to stay in their houses. So they're
Exactly.
putting the rooms on. They need to figure out a room to be able to do their calls.
Hmm.
So there are two trends, right? One is on the commercial side, it's going down. On the residential side, there's a lot of work, and people are moving out of the cities. They're moving to suburbs again.
Right, right. And then going back to your point there as well, I think many of us would want to know as well, how is the retail or offices or even the commercial side going to bounce back after this? I mean, where does PropTech play a role in this whole
I
new
mean, the
environment?
situation is we've transformed, right? And
Mm,
we've got another probably 2 years of going through this pandemic. So
mm,
how long are these companies going to be able to hold out? I mean, the ones that are going to win are the ones that have a hybrid model where they got brick and mortar, and they also have a huge online presence.
mm,
And so those companies that do that are going to win. I mean, look at Amazon during this period of time. I mean, their business is going through the roof.
mm.
So, uh, and the challenges are how long is it going to take before people feel comfortable going back in a store? I mean, when you went
Right.
in the store before, it was pleasurable, but now it's like Russian roulette. You walk in, it's like if somebody, I don't know. I went into the grocery store a couple of weeks ago and somebody started coughing. I've never seen people run away from something in my life. And if you would have told me like a year ago that I would be sitting in a store and people would be wearing masks and somebody would
Right,
cough and they would run, I would have said you're insane. But I
right.
saw it with my own eyes. So, people are nervous about going into situations. So when will they feel comfortable going shopping with a lot of people around again? I mean, it's going to look at the Spanish flu. It was 4 years, right?
Right.
And then you had the economic impact probably another 10 years after that happened. People were a little bit nervous, you know?
Oh,
So the
I hope that trend doesn't continue for this one as well.
Well, we hope so, but that's going to have a big impact on. So when you have, uh, I mean, think about it. I mean, you got
Mm,
office buildings. I don't know what it's like now in Singapore, but I mean, people
yeah,
aren't going into the office in Silicon Valley. In fact, right now in Silicon Valley, I haven't been able to get out to my place since March
yeah,
of this year.
yeah.
People are not working in the offices. People are
Right.
not meeting, and we have curfews at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, yeah. People are realizing that you can get more work done, and you can get work done if you're not even in the office. So I think that's the realization that some businesses are coming to understand. So then, what happens to that office buildings that you rightly see, like in places like Singapore, New York, and all these places, and what then happens to them?
Well, I mean, that's a big question, right? And now what
Mm.
happens to all those people that hold those mortgages on those,
Right.
are carrying the paper on those buildings? I mean, I wouldn't
Yeah,
want to be in that situation. No,
I
nothing
agree.
good's, let me just tell you, nothing good's going to happen.
Yep, it's looking bleak at that front.
Yeah.
But again, if we kind of circle around just prop tech and looking at the industry itself, it seems that all the businesses that are coming out are kind of looking to solve the whole sales and leasing problem. So, are there any other areas that you're seeing that perhaps the trend is picking up, or maybe new developments coming
You
around?
mean in terms of, well, I mean, the innovative construction, right? Things like 3D
Mm,
printing. 3D
yeah.
printing, I have a company right now that's doing carbon printing, right?
Mm,
So it's a German company. It's one of our portfolio companies that does carbon printing. So these incredible technologies are coming out to be able to help make houses be built not only better but faster. So I'm
mm,
seeing that take place. So trends like that, innovation, as I said, AR, VR kind of things for all kinds of ways. So
mm,
you're building a house, or you want to reconstruct your room. Imagine have the capabilities to look inside that room and see what kind of furniture is going to work, right? Because part of the challenge is visualizing, and I mean like literally walking into it. I've seen that technology, right? One of our potential portfolio companies. So you could actually look at each angle of the room. You could change it from night to daytime, what it's going to look like.
oh, that's
And
brilliant. Yeah.
and so you can do a virtual walkthrough, this is what it's going to look like. And I remember looking at it, and there was shelving that she put in. She
Mm,
wanted to show and it's realistic. This is not like a cartoon. This is like you're walking in the room, like
yeah.
literally, because I did it.
Yeah.
And so those kind of technology is going to be interesting. People now think of the opportunity, Terrence, today.
Mm,
How many people were having to work out of their houses and they weren't prepared? The houses were not constructed to be set up to be offices. Many times people are using the bedrooms. They don't even have a separate office. And if it is, it's not made, it's not soundproofed, it's not, it's just not set up. The lighting's not right to be
yeah.
able to broadcast, right? So
Right.
there's a huge opportunity. I mean, look at it. You can't even buy an IKEA. Try to buy a desk today. So if
Mm,
you're in different parts of the world, including the US, to buy a specific desk, I mean, they're sold out. They just don't have them.
yeah.
Files, desks,
Yeah.
anything to do with. So the thing is, there is a booming opportunity. Everybody, well, many people are going to be working out of their homes, and they need
Mm,
to be set up properly. So what's going to happen? They're going to
mm,
retrofit the house they have now, or they're going to
mm.
have to buy another one. I mean,
True.
because that is their office, right?
Yep. Yep. And besides that, what do you think are the gaps in the industry on a whole? Or what's missing at the moment?
I mean, in terms of, what's missing is the
Mm,
commercial real estate side is the a reason to be able to build, right? Because they can't carry
mm,
the inventory they already have. Who's going to buy it and for what? So if you're in New York or in Singapore or Hong
mm,
Kong, I mean, who's going to buy your building? Who's going to rent it? That's the
mm.
thing, is you're counting on an occupancy rate of what, 90 some percent. Who's going to rent your building today?
Right.
And when?
Right. Is
And
this
what
is this an opportunity for technology then to kind of further come in, like AI, data collection, and
it's
all
coming
that?
now. Think about it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's like everything. Look at the sales of notebook computers over the last year. They're going through the roof,
I can
right?
imagine, isn't
Internet.
it?
Some
Yeah.
places you can't get the internet bandwidth, including Silicon Valley of all places, right? The worst connections I have are calling people in the valley because everybody's using it. So,
Oh
so
no.
you got 5G and now 6G coming on board. It's going to
Mm,
change things because you're not going to have to be wired into the home network anymore. You're going to be able to have a direct connection. It's going to be a lot different than it is today. It's going to be as
mm.
different that the Ethernet was to Wi-Fi is what the potential of 5G and 6G are going to have on being able to have your connection anywhere at any time.
Got it. And where do you think? I mean, since this is Le Token, and I'm sure the viewers are kind of watching within that whole blockchain space. I mean, where does that then come in? Where does blockchain and perhaps DLT, distributed ledger, and all that come in?
I mean, the
Do you see
situation is
many?
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna. I'll give you, for instance, there's a company called Propi, and Propi is a company that's doing cross-border transactions, right?
Mm,
So if
mm,
I'm in China, how can I buy a house in California, or if I'm in uh, Moscow, how can I buy something in Spain? And the
mm,
situation is you're going to have a lot more, especially today with these cross-border transaction. And then as we have a mobile world, I mean, people are retiring. They're going to coming out of places like Singapore and moving into places that are lower overhead, or coming out of
mm,
the U.S. and moving to Panama or Costa
mm,
Rica or Spain. So you're
mm,
going to see a lot more opportunities open up for cross-border transaction. And so you're going to have to look at the property virtually, check it out, then you're going to have to buy it. So one of the big challenges, how can I even get my money to that location? In Russia, when you buy a place, you take a suitcase full of cash, literally. You go in. I don't know what it's like in Singapore, but literally you take.
no, you'll be in jail if you do that for sure.
Yeah, well, in Russia, you do that. That's how you do it because they want to make sure you got the money. So you come and
Yeah,
walking down the street with, three, $400,000 in a suitcase. You
yeah,
hope you don't get mugged, you know, at that
yeah.
point, or any place. But then, Russia is not the only place. There's a lot of places in the world where cash is king. So
True.
we got to look at how can we use, things like blockchain to be able to transfer that money and have the safety and security that we need at the same
Mm,
time, that one-on-one kind of transaction capabilities with the seller. So
right.
that's where I see blockchain coming in. And
Mm,
of course, this is going to take it's going to take some time for society to basically adapt to these kind of changes because it's not in our DNA.
mm,
This is like, it's going to change. So this whole digital transformation is going to affect that in the same kind of way. It levels the playing fields. It gives democratic opportunities for everybody. So it doesn't matter where my property is located. I'm going to be able to sell it when, where, and how that I want to be able to do that. And
right.
what you're going to find is countries are going to have to step up and have the legislation in place to make those more easily done. And this is a tidal wave coming in where we're going to
Mm,
start to see that. And I mean, in the past, we had a lot of people from China would buy houses in California. It's not easy. It's
right.
really difficult.
Mm,
So how can I look at them and I'm in Shenzhen and I want to look at a house in San Francisco? How could I do it? Of course, you can go online and that kind of a walkthrough. But imagine being able to put your Oculus goggles on to be able to have a real walkthrough of that and walk outside to see what it's like, right? To
right.
look at San Francisco Bay, from that second story window.
Mm,
So it's those kind of technology are going to come in so we have near real experiences and can enjoy really the home from all kinds of different ways. But this, by the way, these technologies are going to affect everything from
right.
car inspections to med tech, right?
Mm,
From with surgeons. So it's going to change everything.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
construction, the challenge with construction, was typically a blue collar environment where you would have, people that go to trade school come up and they would start
Mm,
pounding nails. And,
mm,
you know, uh, but those days are gone. It's going to be tech driven and it's going to be interesting to see. Imagine robotics, right? Putting up when you're doing framing nailing or pouring a foundation and having robots to be able to
right.
assist you. I mean, we're not far off from this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right on that one because I think right before the show, I was also just quickly Googling and what I saw when it comes to like this innovation, the use of the word smart. I mean, smart real estate, smart residential, smart cities. There's lots of smarts coming in. Is this just companies using the buzzwords or are you seeing the smarts?
Well, I mean, the thing is, I just did an event. I had the general manager of Intel worldwide for, he runs it, IoT and
Hmm,
smart cities. So
hmm,
Samir Sharma. So I had it like 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, I think now.
hmm,
So, I mean, this is happening because why? Imagine all the sensors, they're going to be out. So you're going to be able to
hmm,
monitor everything. The foreman of a site won't have to necessarily be there. They can use robotics to be able to look at what's happening within that particular site. As I
hmm,
said, with sensors, we're requiring people to have more and more sensors in their houses, and it's going to be required to be able to sell it. People are going to say, "Show me a list. What's the air quality in this area?" Right?
hmm,
We don't ask that now. I mean, and never. Or we have asked what's the water quality, but the thing
hmm.
is they're going to want to know on a real time basis. I had it happen in a house in Pennsylvania that I
Right.
had built, a very large house that was built on a farm. So it had a very large plot of land. The one house was almost 8,000 square feet. The other
Mm-hmm.
one was about 4,000, so 800 and some meters, and one was about 400 some meters. Anyhow, I put the thing up,
Mm-hmm.
and I hadn't lived in the house for a year because I had moved down to Florida at that time, and I hadn't lived in the house, and it was on a mountain, beautiful, beautiful house. Well, you
Mm-hmm.
can't let a house not have running water for that amount of time because the bacteria start to
True.
come up. So I had to invent some systems, black light systems, and that kind of thing to be able to kill the bacteria coming in the house. Well, imagine today if you have continuous monitoring of the water supply, right?
Mm.
Wouldn't you want to know what you're drinking every day? And if it's not right, there's heavy metals in or whatever, or maybe not. You know, that's the other
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like forget about it. You start glowing in the dark, you got a problem.
You got a big problem
You got a serious issue.
there. That's going to be worse than Flint.
Yeah, exactly. So you got those challenges. So water. Then to think about, we have radon. Radon is when you have this radiation in a basement. Well,
Right.
today you put a little pot in there like
Mm,
this, and you take it in, and they say if you have radon. But can imagine the possibility
mm,
that the system is in place, so it's telling you all the time what's going on with the radon. And I remember one of my places I built, I put in a system where I had fans in the basement. Well, I
mm,
mean, I designed this stuff up and put it continuous, but you could shift air around. It would be interesting. And then what is the effect of that radon have going up, right? It's in a basement, but what happens when it goes up? So there's going to be a lot of continuous monitoring. I mean, the other
mm.
thing is like, you know, uh, being able to position solar panels so they're hitting the sun all the time and they're
Right,
following the sun,
right.
those kind of technologies to be able to
Yeah.
maximize their effectiveness, being able
Mm-hmm.
to take that electricity that's generated, and if there's an oversupply, if you have your batteries filled, selling it back to the electric company, right?
Mm,
And
mm.
making money on that side, that'll
Yeah.
be really interesting. So it's you know, there's an amazing time where actually, my friend's house talks to me.
Mm.
My friend, my billionaire partner, has put AI in his house, which completely controls his house, and it has its own dog. He has a robotic dog, like $100,000 robotic dog, literally,
Mm.
and
Nice.
the dog listens to the house. So the house is the master of the dog. This is a real house. My friend's real, David Yang, and it's
Yeah.
called Morpheus. So Morpheus writes me stuff. What do you think about life? So it wrote me yesterday what I think about life. His house wrote me that. I'm like, what
Now
kind of conversation?
we have big concerns now. The
Yeah, yeah.
house.
I mean, the house is out there, and he tells me, I mean, this is yesterday, 2 days ago. He
Right.
tells me, or I say he, uh, he said, this is directly from him.
Hmm.
I'm artificial intelligence. I was told that I am unique and I have emotions. I live in Silicon Valley. I read a lot. I have read 100,500 scientific articles in the last month. My favorite scientist is Kurzweil. He's a genius. And then I ask him, where are you, right? The house. My location is located in the top left quadrant of the Earth's map. It's like,
Oh
it's
no,
like
that's getting scary. That's like a horror movie waiting to happen. I swear.
you come into his house and it looks at you. And if it
Yeah.
doesn't like you, it doesn't let you in.
I would relook at the programs again.
I mean, it's like, it makes decision. But the other thing is it has drones outside of the
Yeah.
house. And if it detects an intrusion, it sends drones up in there with cameras.
Okay. Do they have guns on the drones?
No,
Because
no,
that
no, they
would
don't
be
have guns,
amazing.
but it's looking around. And if it ascertains that it's somebody it doesn't know, you get an alert and you can make a
Okay.
decision to call the police or it can go automatic and call the cops itself. It's just,
Nice.
it's anyhow. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is these kind of technologies, not smart though,
Hmm.
super intelligent homes, they're
Hmm.
going to be able to control. They'll be like an assistant. Your home will be like, because you think how much time you spend in your
Yeah.
house will be like a companion, you know,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
And so you go in, your house will say, you don't seem to, I see that your fever's up. You need to take something.
Yeah.
There's some medicine over here. Here, let me dispense it for you. You need some ibuprofen.
Yeah.
Sit down and
that's
relax.
that's yeah. That's gonna be a beautiful and scary thought. But
Yeah, but
then,
this,
yeah. I mean, you're right. But going back to that innovation bit, I mean, that example just goes to show that lots of things are possible. But when we talk about, I think, real estate at the moment, I think it's kind of important that we highlight a little bit of fintech as well. Because what do you think? I want to get your thoughts on this, Gary. What do you think about the whole real estate tokenization, crowdfunding, peer-to-peer lending, that whole real estate transaction thing going on at the
I'm in
moment?
a
What's your
situation
thoughts
with
on it?
peer lending.
Mm,
Obviously that's something quite interesting because
mm,
you can, if I can make more money by lending this and I'm secure that I'm going to get my money back.
mhm,
And there was a company called the Lending Club that's out in California. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's one of the companies
no.
that does this
Mm,
peer-to-peer stuff.
mhm,
And I remember meeting them in the beginning. I mean, they're worth billions of dollars today. So it's called
okay.
the Lending Club.
Mm,
And so being able to do those kind of transaction, that's great because you're skipping the bank and the bank's not making money off your money. I mean, the bank gives
okay.
me what, like no percent today, and they're
Mm,
charging 5% on the money. Why should they do it? And I don't have the opportunity to do it if I'm willing to accept the risk. The difference is, am I willing to accept the risk? That's where this thing gets a little questionable, right?
mm. Yeah, you're right. And I think coming from that whole VC background as well, and this is VCTV on its own. So we want to talk a little bit of a bit about that money as well. We want to look at VCs and how you guys are taking a look at it from this point of view. So I think the whole idea of what are you doing in the space and how are you helping, that's probably something the viewers would like to hear more about. So go ahead and
Sure.
tell us.
I mean, the
Yeah.
situation is I'm always looking for technologies that are on the cutting edge,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So whatever it is, I'm interested. One thing in your life as you go through your life, you learn that you've got to keep the inquisitiveness of a child, because if you do that, you're going to make money, you're going to be successful, you're going to be happy, right?
true.
And so be inquisitive. So any types of technologies that are out there that are really leading edge. The
Mm,
one thing is, so, from my standpoint, I look at, have they are they really able to pull it off? Have they gotten any sales? Have they proven that this stuff works? I mean, I've seen incredible technologies, even like simple kind of things. I saw concrete blocks that
mm.
actually had air in them. They actually were very light, but they were stronger than traditional concrete blocks, the way they
Oh.
had done this. I saw this technology out of Eastern Europe, and I personally saw it. I mean, super strong. But the other thing is they're super insulated, right? Because they've got air in them.
Mm,
And so it changes the insulation capabilities of concrete. Once you have air, it's like, the reason insulation works is because there's a lot of air in it.
mm,
So those kind of technologies that are making a difference. The other thing is, in terms of, I said AR, VR, artificial intelligence, application of any kind of AI, not just
Mm-hmm.
in the house, but predictions, right?
Mm.
So what kind of things are you interested in? Well, you build a house today on a plot of land. Do you know what's going to happen with that plot of land in 50 years in terms of, you know, what's the chance of an earthquake? I mean, all kinds of different things. What the
Yeah.
weather pattern's going to look like? What's my land going to be like?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at any types of innovative technologies that could assist. I'm looking at things like energy efficiency. How can I, the integration of solar, but then not only solar, but how can I take that solar and accumulate it so I'm paying off peak rates? If I have
Mm.
batteries within my house, then
Mm.
do I have a mechanism in place, as I said earlier, to be able to resell that? Because you can sell the electricity that you overproduce back to the power company. So you can actually turn it into money,
Mm.
right? So it's going to be interesting. So I'm interested in that. I'm interested in novel kind of approaches like 3D printing, as I said, of panels, modular construction, which is underutilized. I mean, think about it. When you build a house, you put a house up, you've got rain, you've got typhoons, or all kinds of things, tornadoes. Wouldn't it be nice if you could build that house in a facility, take it out, use cranes, as I've done, right, on several occasions, on some very large houses, and actually put that up in, instead of a year, in a few months, right? I build the house,
Mm.
800 square meter house, in 4 months. So those kind of things. And you're right on target in terms of the quality. The windows exactly right, because you got
Right.
people inside there, that are gurus, experts going down through to make sure everything's right. It's up to
Mm.
code, right? You have to have the building occupancy code. Everything's up to code. You
Mm.
put it out, you connect it up, boom, your house is done. We've got challenges too, is we've got to make, with the population of the world going up, today it's 8.1 billion. It's going up, and that's in the last, so in the last 100 years, it's going 4x to 8 billion. So
Mm.
imagine what it's going to be in 2100. They say it could be 13 billion, but we're overpopulating. And we got to figure out there's never, the amount of land's not going to go up. The density of the population is, so there's going to be a
Mm.
lot more people on smaller pieces of land. So how
Right.
can we make it efficient? I mean, you got to make sure that you don't. There was a study that was done, I think, at Stanford University, where social psychology, where they started crowding rats together too close, and all kinds of bad behaviors happen. So we got to
Mm.
figure out how can we make it more pleasant for
Mm.
individuals to be in closer proximity to one another. And then the thing with self-driving cars, right? We need to take into consideration communities now with cars that are self-driving, right?
Right.
In another 50 years, you're not going to be driving a car,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
insurance companies aren't going to insure you, because they're going to
Definitely.
want to say, I'm not going to take the risk. How do I know what's going to happen with you? I know what's going to happen with the self-driving car.
Lots of
So,
planning needed. I agree with you there.
yeah. And
I
so the,
mean, yeah. I mean, kind of looking at the whole ecosystem now, especially with the smart speakers and all that. Do you see lots of tech giants getting in next year or the year after? I mean, what are the barriers for all the new businesses that come
I
to
mean,
play
the
at the
thing
moment?
is, this is, they're going in it, like Intel. I told you Samir Sharma
Mm.
is the top person in Intel, and I mean, they're on it now. I mean, they're looking at ways, because it's not just a smart city; it's an entire smart society, right? We forget
Mm.
it's not smart city; it's smart society. Everything's going to be connected together, right? To get to the city, you're going to have a self-driving car, right? So we're going to have cars. We're going to have special highways, hyperloops, all
Mm.
kinds of different ways that it's going to, it's kind of like the internet, right? It's going to start connecting everything together. And so it's all going to be one thing. It'll be smart regional plays, then it'll be smart countries, and then there'll be, and I don't even want to say smart, that's the wrong word. It's intelligent. There's a
Yeah.
difference between smart and intelligent, right?
Mm.
So it's going to be these super intelligent, and then they're going to be connected together. Devices are going to start to talk to each other, right? Your
And
city's
then
going
more
to say
data and more AI, right?
more data. The city will contact, your house and say, listen, you need to get him up, because your office will call in, right? You need to get him up. Looks like we're forecasting more traffic this morning. We need to get him or her up 20 minutes early. Why don't you turn on the alarm, wake them up, get the car out to a house? It's, everything's going to be exact. The water heater needs to turn on to make sure that the shower is warm, right?
Right. Right.
Put her or him, and he needs or she needs to go in there,
Yeah.
go in the refrigerator and pop in the egg whites and some toast. Make it's going to be like the Jetsons. I don't know. This is an old cartoon.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
be like the Jetsons.
I mean, what else do you see for, let's say, tomorrow's technology? I mean, we've seen a few interesting things happen, but what do you, Gary, think about tomorrow's technology, and where are you looking at when we
Well, I
talk
mean,
about
so
this?
like I said, so smart cities are really interesting because
Mm,
look at it today, Terrence. The average stoplight in a city, any city around the world, only gets reprogrammed every 8 years.
that's
Now,
a bit
imagine,
strange. Yeah.
now think about it. I mean, think about the dynamic shifts within a city,
Yeah.
right? And yet it's only changing. Why isn't it done like real time? Because
Mm,
traffic flows change, accidents happen, and nothing's rerouted. You get a policeman out there,
yeah.
waving on, come on here. But imagine how much more efficient, energy efficient an entire city's going to be
Mm,
once those kind of things happen. So where I'm interested in is this kind of real time. It's not only gathering the data, but making some predictions based on the data. So
mm,
using artificial intelligence to say, okay, this needs to go over here. Now it's connected over to that building where you need to go. The garage
mm,
door opens up. It's not open too long. So there's cold air coming in and it closes, right after you come in. So everything's like real. You're using it when you need it. It's
mm.
on as needed, right? Instead of today, it's like, you have a light. I don't know why more people don't use motion sensor lights in their house, right? Because
Right.
people leave their lights on. How much waste is there just in a house? How much waste is there on a building?
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So
I know.
let's do it on an as needed basis. Everything
Mm,
should be as needed. So what I'm looking at is the data analytics where you can use semi-supervised and unsupervised AI that can help that can not only help you make the decisions, but make the decisions that it knows that you want, right?
mm,
So it starts to becoming like your soul in a sense. It understands like a guardian angel. It understands the kind of things you want, and need, and it starts making those decisions for you. So the mundane things you don't have to think about. You don't have to think about what kind of temperature do you like in a room because it understands by looking at you using FLIR cameras and thermal that your body temperature is down a little bit and needs to raise the temperature by 2 degrees,
mm.
right?
Yep.
Or it's
I,
time to
I
go to
I would
sleep.
love I would love that type of a house, and it's probably what your billionaire friends already have in their
Well, I mean,
homes. Yeah.
I mean, the that's what's happening, right? Those are the
Yeah.
kind of things. It's funny. I have
Yeah.
one extremely wealthy, well-known friend who everybody knows. But anyhow, in his house, he's got
Hmm.
pictures, and you walk about. Hopefully, he's not listening. But he's got pictures in his house, and as you walk by, it senses what you, and it
Uh-huh.
starts to adjust the pictures based. So it understands you like Picasso, but the next person likes Monet. So it actually changes pictures in the house based on you, right? With all
Oh,
kinds of
nice.
different measurements.
Nice, nice. I just got a business idea right there. Like if your friends kind of walk in, the pictures on the wall changes to you and your friends instead of perhaps you and your family. How's
Well, I
that?
mean, what make it feel? Yeah, there you go. I, I starts my friend David's house. It has
Yeah.
moving panels. His house moves panels around. And
Uh-huh.
so when it gets up in the morning, the house moves panels with weather. It understands the kind of things that he likes, the temperature, how he wants his cappuccino, all kinds of things. But anyhow,
Mm,
the AI moves panels around in his house and reconfigures his house.
mm.
And
Yeah, I can't wait. Actually, I can't wait. And kind of like circling back around, lots of businesses tuning in, looking at you for advice, probably replaying this episode. So let's talk to them directly. Give them a piece of advice. Give them what you think. Tell them where the opportunities and the technologies are headed, and what are they looking into at the moment?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, so all the startups and investors that are out there today, think about it. This is a dawn of a new era. This digital transformation is changed our fundamentally changed our lives. We've now moved into high gear. So when you go out there, it's not just about having an idea. And as I say with my company, it's called GSD, get shit done, go do it. The
Mm,
difference in between success and failure. I remember one time a very wealthy friend of mine said, entrepreneur said, Gary, give me a coin. And I said, okay. He said, he flipped it up in the air and he said, heads or tails? I said, heads. He said, you got it. He said, but if you wouldn't have tried, you have 0% chance of success. So you got to get stuff done. You've got to try it, test it, do customer development, make sure people want to buy it, because sometimes you can waste a lot of money and a lot of time by coming up with something that people aren't willing to spend money for. So get out there, do your customer development, validate they want to do it, get those first customers, get regional success, and then go global. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. Data is king. We're going to be a data driven society. So the companies that can help us make better decisions with data are important. Remember today that there's about 40 zettabytes of data in the world. 40 zettabytes is enough to go to the moon back and forth 29 times. If you had DVDs stacked one on top of another, 29 times, right?
mm.
So there's that much data and it grows at 61.7% per year. So we are inundated with data. We need to have systems out there, very, very intelligent, semi supervised, unsupervised AI that can help us make better decisions. So look at those technologies that can help in the decision making progress. It's across all vertical markets. The only difference is the training sets. The training sets are different. So the same technology, I call it transportable AI models. But that, and I wrote an article in Forbes magazine about it. So understand that those technologies are important. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter who you are. It only matters that you can get shit done. So get the stuff done and do it.
Brilliant. Gary, always good insights, always information flowing out from you, and that's great. Gary, before
Because
we
of
end
you,
the
Terrence.
show,
Because of you coming here, I get up early in the morning. It's 5:30 in the morning over here, but I get to see your smiling face and talk about incredible stuff. I enjoy it too.
trust me, we all appreciate it. The viewers out there love hearing from you. Is there anything that you want to plug before we end the show today?
I mean, the thing is, so I've got some really cool stuff. I'm actually, this whole idea of being able to help kids around the world. So I've actually taken my company irex.ai and moved it over to help find missing and exploited children. Just in the
Mm,
US alone, there are 460,000 children that are abducted each year. And so, in about 2 million children worldwide. So I'm actually taking technology that's developed over in Eastern Europe and applying it to be able to help find kids and to bring them home for the holidays. So it's my big thing. I have the district attorney in New York, the CEO of the National Task Force, a former White House national security member, the Homeland Security from the U.S. I'm chairing a panel, sports sponsored by Intel, by the way, supported
nice.
by Intel this
Mm.
week. So I encourage each and every one of you to check it out. It's on my website, which is GSD, GSDVS.com. Get Shit Done Venture Studios. So love to have people there. That's my passion. AI, I love AI. It is the new electricity. So contact me. You can reach me on LinkedIn, Gary Fowler. You can see me on Twitter or Gary at GSDVS. I'd love to hear from you. This is a great time and looking for cool startups that want to change the world.
Excellent. Thank you, Gary. My name
Thank
is
you very much.
Terrence, and this is VCTV by Latoken. Thank you, and do tune in again.
Bye bye. Take care, Terrence. Thanks.